We got a full day today. I got to take care of all this white stuff that fell on the ground. We got about 6 or 8 inches last night. It's about 15 degrees out. We're gonna plow this stuff out and move the MD into the shop, and I can start work on it today. Hey Ezra, what are you doing in here? You've been sleeping in the hay, huh? Out you go. Oh, we're gonna have to play a little tractor Jenga to get the Super A out to plow. And I gotta jump it because the battery's been dead for about 2 years. It's not that I use it all that much. Sometimes the old way works best. We'll see. For those of you that have politely suggested that my tractor needs chains on the rear tires, I do have chains for the rear tires. They're up in the garage. Fine place for them, huh? Easy start. Yeah. Easy start, my boy. Nothing wants to start today. Let's fire up the emergency generator to power the compressor, and I can't get it started, so I had to take the compressor down to the shop, fill it up with compressed air. Got to blow up this tire that's flat. I don't want to ruin the tire, tone it down. Nah. Yeah. Well, she's in the garage. It's really nice to have her in the shop. This noise you hear is the heat, and this place heats up in no time. It's nice and toasty on the coldest days of winter, and I can kind of hibernate in here and work on it. My goal with this tractor is to fix what's wrong with it and get it running again. And if I use it for a year or two and it's reliable, then I paint it. That's what I do with my tractors typically. The first thing I have to do is tear the engine down enough to assess the condition of the pistons, rings, bearings, and head, and then we can go from there. I did a video on this MD last summer. For those who didn't see it, the head is cracked on this tractor. It's cracked, but it's been brazed and it never leaked. Now, these tractors were notorious for having cracked heads. I'm not worried so much about the head because it didn't leak when it was running before. The crack is always held tight. This engine in a nutshell is diesel on one side, injection pump, fuel filters, air filter, injectors on this side, and then when you come over to the other side, it's gas on that side. You have a magneto, you've got a carburetor, you've got the manifolds, which this manifold's got butterflies in it for when you switch from gas to diesel. I'll get into that more as we get into the engine. Oil filter, gasoline starting tank, diesel main tank, generator. The cell phone is my friend. The first thing I do before I take anything apart is I take lots of photographs of how things are, and they usually help putting it back together. Same when I take sub-assemblies apart. I called the machine shop about an hour ago that I usually use for doing head work on the Farmalls, reconditioning heads, decking them, cleaning them, valve grinding, valve seats, all that stuff, and said, can you do an MD head? He said, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. They're obsolete. I said, well, if I bring it up, can you at least look at it and we'll go from there? And he said, yeah, okay. If it comes to looking for parts, it might take them a while to get it done because you can't find parts for these engines very easily. That's one of the challenges of it, and that's one of the reasons I'm not doing a complete tear down and rebuild, because I'd be into just this engine for a lot of money if I went through and rebuilt the whole thing. This little tube here running up to the air cleaner is a positive crankcase ventilation system. So you've got vacuum here at the intake, so it's pulling any exhaust gases out of the head here and recirculating them and sending them down to be taken in by the engine again. We're just going to pull the air cleaner off and get it out of the way. While I'm over here, I'll disconnect the lines to the injectors. You have to be really careful with cleanliness with injection pumps, injector lines, and injectors. I plan on going through this pump myself, tearing it down, cleaning it out. At the very least, it needs to be cleaned out because fuel's been sitting in it for 20 years without running. So I'm not as concerned about cleanliness. I'll still tape off these openings when I get done. But if I were just taking this off without redoing the pump, I would have washed this all down with brake cleaner to get it all clean before I started taking stuff apart. I'm going to take this rod off. I got to pull this steering rod that goes in the front bolster, so in order to do that I got to take the front cowl off and pull the rod out through the gearbox. Oh, looks like the mice like this place. Can you imagine how much this wheel's been turned over the years to make that kind of a groove in it? That's pretty amazing. This is a temperature sender from the top of the head going up to the water temperature indicator. In my experience, these rarely come off without breaking the lead here, and they usually need a new temperature gauge because it's all one unit. This one seems to be coming off all right. Usually this gets twisted up and then it breaks. This is the throttle linkage for the diesel coming down here. Goes into all this linkage assembly that feeds the injector pump. It's got to come off. There we go. Now on this side we have to take off the exhaust and the intake manifolds, and these can be tons of fun to get the nuts off of. Oh boy, they're a beauty. Well, that one wasn't so bad. That one came off with the stud. That's okay with me. Okay. So with the manifold off, you can see the butterfly valves. There's one here and there's one in the other end, and this is in gasoline mode right now. They're closed. So what happens is the air comes in the intake up here. It can't go through the big passage because the butterflies are closed. So instead, it goes down into this little passage, which you can barely see at the corner there. It goes into the little passage, which is on the bottom right here. And that little passage is right here. Now, before it can come into the engine via this little passage, it has to go down through the carburetor. Air gets mixed with gas, and then it comes into the little passages. When you switch it over to diesel, these butterflies open, and that brings the air in directly from the intake because the fuel's coming in from the injectors when it's in diesel mode. Carburetor shuts off, float's locked up. A little persuasion, it works. She burned oil for a while, and you can see it in the exhaust. That's this crap that's built up here is burnt oil. She smoked. That's my principal worry about the engine, is just that it's getting tired. I'm hoping I can get by with a re-ring and a valve job, tighten it up a little bit as far as blow by. Now we can go ahead and take the valve cover off. Okay, what do we see here? I know that the engine was breathing okay. I mean, it's not like it had a bent push rod. You can see if it has a bent push rod by spinning them. This is the shaft, this is the rock shaft here, and then a shaft down the middle that actuates the compression release valve. So when you change it over from gas to diesel, there's a valve in the combustion chamber that closes and reduces the combustion area in the combustion chamber so that you get a higher compression ratio. This is the rock shaft that works off of this business down here. Actually, it works right here off of this. And turns this rod, and then on this rod there's little cams that push down on these pucks which connect to the compression release valves. Here's my system for making sure that bolts and nuts and hardware go back where they're supposed to go. What I do is I take a Ziploc bag, so I just take a piece of tape and use that to label the bag. So these are exhaust and intake manifold. Then what I wind up doing is when I get a whole bunch of them, I just get a cardboard box and I put them all in the box, and it kind of works out because the ones you put in first are the ones you take out last, so it's like last in, first out. That's it for the MD today. With all the snow moving I had to do this morning and the screwing around, getting it out and getting it in the garage, I only had about an hour and a half to work on it, and it's already time for afternoon chores. What came in the mail today? Well, this. A viewer named Robert Vila from Long Island, New York, whose hobby is restoring 60s fighter jets, believe it or not. That is cool. Has been sending me, he revealed, this sandblasting stuff. So the pressure blaster was the last piece of it. I got the helmet and the media in the mail previously. So thanks a lot, and no relation to that other Bob Vila, by the way. I'm floored. Next, and this is something I knew that was coming because I ordered it myself. I have had a rickety little 6-inch grinder in my shop for years and years, and I finally ordered a good one. This is a Jet 8-inch grinder I ordered, and it just came in the mail, and I've got a cast iron base for it up in the top barn, and I'm going to put it together, and it sure will be nice for the tractor restoration. What is going on out here? You're going to get wet. Okay. Hey, do you want to hear a joke? No. Oh, okay. Everybody needs to be watered today, so I got to get out the long hose. The heifers, the pigs, the cattle. I've been trying to think of how to tell you all this, and I don't really have a good way. But Marvel died today. He was doing well, but he never acted the same. So I thought he was looking better, but he never really started eating. I tried feeding him milk and out of a syringe to get him up and around, but I think he had brain damage, and he laid down yesterday and he just never got up again. I'm sorry to tell you all that, and I wish it could have had a better outcome. Hey, you little stinkers. Run, 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 run. I love that every time. Run, 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 run. It always stinks to lose an animal, and the larger the animal is, the more it stinks, the larger and long-lived. Marvel would have been around for a long time. One comfort I've thought of is that Marvel came from this place. He was born on this farm fed him. He was part of that farm, still will be. I know it sounds coarse, but we'll compost Marvel. I'm not going to cut him up and eat him with all the medicine that we put into him, and I don't think I could do it anyway with the attachment that we had to him. But he will become part of this farm again. He'll be on the fields. He'll be feeding future generations of troublesome calves. And I hope the same thing for me when I go. It's probably not legal, but I'd love to be composted and spread over the farm and become a part of this place permanently. I don't know. It helps me deal with these sorts of things, and they happen from time to time. It's just part of farming. Today was a day of sad endings with Marvel's passing, but it's a day of new beginnings too. We got our first decent snowfall of the year today, and the seasons are changing. I got the MD in, and that's the start of a project that's going to take me a long time. So things end, things begin. I don't have anything deeper to say for that. It's just things are always changing, and that's just fine with me in the end. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.